So this is the Alpex 4K full fat, the latest update, 5.5.124 I believe. I've just been through and had a quick look and re-entered any data that I needed to. With a restore, you should not lose your 0 settings, i.e. the X and Y settings you have. You will, however, lose the ballistic data. Whether you've got IR turned on or off, it will factory reset some of it. If you do a reset, it will wipe everything completely back to factory. So I've got it here. You can see the slight change. It doesn't have the range up in the top right hand corner. It says VERM 177 instead, because you can now put descriptors on your ballistics and ammunition and rifle settings. It's a lot easier once you've got it in to be able to switch between rifles, because you just need to switch one thing. You don't need to remember to switch the ballistics profile as well, which is an easy forget if you're switching in the field, and find out that you've switched to a centerfire rifle but you're still running on air rifle ballistics. So let's have a look. If we go in, I want that on auto actually. The brightness and contrast, because I've done a restore, is reset to 5. I think I changed that, but I'll see what it looks like. So here we have your standard bits. You've got your profile and your zeroing setting, central reticule or not central, multiple zoom or continuous zoom. Ranging, there is an option now. So you've got once, which you'll need if you're using the laser rangefinder and ballistics. You can now turn on and off the horizontal distance. This will show the laser line of sight distance to your target and the horizontal distance. So if you're shooting up at 45 degrees, let's say 15 yards with an air rifle, the horizontal distance will be approximately 10. So this is the range that gravity affects the bullet or pellet with, not the laser range. So technically it shortens your distance. It doesn't affect weather, or it doesn't affect the fact that the scope always compensates for this regardless of whether you have that on or off. When you laser rangefind, it just tells you either 2 ranges or 1, so it doesn't really make any difference to that. I'll turn it off for the minute. Hotspot, they're supposed to have made the letters bigger for that so that you can see them more easily. Pre-record I don't use. Sound is on because that's how you're hearing me. Smart IR is on, so that will dim the brightness coming in automatically so it doesn't wipe out. Auto screen off, I've got on. That means when you tip the rifle beyond about 80 degrees in any direction, up, down, or even lie it down left or right, it will turn the screen off into an automatic standby. Point to note, if you manually turn the standby off by just pressing short press on the power button to turn the screen off, if you then dip it down or up into 90 degrees and then bring it back on again, it will automatically turn back on. Function settings, these are all the same, so you can, whether you show the time, this is where you can turn on the cant and elevation angle, and whether you want Hik Micro's brand logo on the bottom corner. Language, set time, yards, auto power off. I've got that off. I don't really want it turning off in the field. Personally, I just have used standby, and I found that gives me hours of run time. Restore is the one you want to do after this. Reset is if you want to wipe completely everything and put all the data and re-zero your rifles. Diagnosis like log I've got off. Version, there we go, 5.5.124. So let's go back up to the important bit. So you've got your standard profiles here, A, B, C, D, so A, and then you can also set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in all of those profiles as you could before. However, you can now name that individual. A1 is Vern 177, so my sub 12 foot pound air rifle. Okay, got the settings I prefer for the reticule type and colour. Your 0 bits, this is where your range, 0 range is put in, 26 yards. The zoom and freeze frame are the same, as is this detail. So if you've done a restore and you've got these numbers in here, they should remain the same as they did before. Obviously I would personally just have a quick check 0 just in case anything has moved a little bit. If you've done a reset, those will all be 0. Now this is the bit which I think is quite important. The ballistics calculation data. Okay, you can have it on or off. You can then set, this is again my preference for the ballistics aim point and colour. That's why the main reticule is greyed out, because I'm not really ever I'm not using that to aim with. I want to see my eye to be drawn to the yellow one, because that's where I'm actually going to be shooting at. I do like the light grey reference lines. If I concentrate, I can need them. They're there if I want to think about them. So you've got a single page now for your ballistics. So this is the ballistics for my 177 air rifle, but this is individual to a 1 Vern 177. So if I put A2 in, I can put another air rifle pellet in here and a completely separate different ballistics. This means, not sure if you realise that, then instead of just having 5 ballistic profiles that you had 25 0 points, you've now got 25 0 points that can all have different an individual ballistic just for that. So you could technically have 25 completely different rifles on here, every one having a different 0 and a ballistic setting. Okay, I mean that's obviously quite complicated and unlikely to happen. What I've done, if we go to B, which is my HMR, I've got 2 on here, so I've got 2 different HMR bullets I use. The HMR VMAX is on 1, and that has its own ballistics data. So there we go, ballistic coefficient 0.125, speed 2,348 feet per second. And if we go to 2, I've got, this is HMR, this is A17, which is a slightly higher, slightly faster ammunition from CCI. Again, all the settings are the same for the reticule. If we go into ballistics data, we've got a higher speed and a very slightly higher ballistic coefficient. Sight height is the same because it's the same, when it's on there it's on the same rifle. I can just switch. All I have to do is just switch that 1 to a 2. Okay, you couldn't do that before, you only had 5 ballistic profiles. So now 1 to 5 can have its ballistic profiles, and every A to E, and 1 to 5. So that gives you 25 options. Another quick one, C is my centerfire rifle. There's only one option here. At the moment I only use 110 grain copper bullet for my 6.5. So I only need 1 for that. D again is a single one for 2-2 rimfire. E, I'm just setting this one up for my new FAC air rifle when I get it, so I put in data I know. And on this, okay, I've got 3 different pellets I want to load, and each one has its own ballistic profile. So it's a FX Leopard. This is going to be my low power ratting round, which is a JSB 13-ish grain, which is their RS. 2 is the JSB 18 pellet, so that's going to be running at a reasonable FAC power, sort of 30 foot-pounds, for a bit more range, but trying to keep the ricochet and danger zone behind down. and 3 is, sorry, 1 is the slug, which I haven't quite chosen yet, which should be a 25 to 30 grain slug, which hopefully will be up around 950 feet per second. That's where they seem to run, and should have a ballistic coefficient almost double that of the pellets. That's 0.8.9. Again, I'll measure that when I get there, but I've put in all the general parameters in at the moment. So that makes switching between calibers. You don't have to go, oh, am I on A and on 1, and then set which ballistic profile did I have for this, and only have 5 options. So that's great. Other thing they've done is they've changed the picture-in-picture. So again, you can zoom in picture-on-picture, and laser range. You can see the laser range number comes up in the screen, and the picture-in-picture now centers and actually shows the laser range finding aim point. So now it's actually quite useful. A much longer distance. Okay, now let's 240 yards, 97-inch drop. Again, you can see the laser ranging aim point is in the middle of the picture-in-picture. So when I zoom in, I can use that, leave that zoomed in, and actually observe the wide angle in the main screen, as opposed to before it only stayed centered. So when the crosshair aim point dropped off the bottom, you couldn't use it. Let's see what I can get. .300 yards, again, we'll drop down even further. Now, let's range that again. Well, obviously we're well beyond the ranges of that on the screen. 118 yards, is that one coming? So that one's there. Right, that one is now, unfortunately, showing, if you look, it's down where the camp gauge is, right on there. Unfortunately, it's not actually showing in the picture-in-picture, so there's obviously a limit to how far down. That's the main features. Still would be nice to have all this enterable on the app, but hopefully that'll be coming in the future. That's a very big rewrite, but this is greatly improved. I think how we can use this especially for multiple rifles. The other one worked, but it did take a bit more messing around, and now we have a greater flexibility on the number of ballistic profiles we can actually use. So thank you.